Hello everybody, it's me, the Real Local Maniac. I'm back again with another 8-Bit Wars, Sega vs Nintendo. As you can see, today I'll be playing Double Dragon. Now, I haven't actually done one of these Sega vs Nintendo 8-Bit Wars in a long time. A few months ago I did a 16-Bit War, Sega vs Nintendo. So I thought, you know what, it's time to do another 8-Bit War, Sega vs Nintendo. So there's the baddies, that's how the game begins. Your girlfriend Marion gets kidnapped. And then the game begins. You play our hero, which is Billy Lee. And this is actually a two-player, guys. You play his twin brother, who surprisingly enough looks like Billy Lee. His name is Jimmy Lee. He's got brown hair and he likes to wear red, so that way his mum can tell them apart. Alright, so before I go on any further, this is one of my favourite arcade games ever. I love it to bits. It's just so addictive. Now, some of you will probably remember I did this video before on my last YouTube channel, but like I've said before, I'm going to sort of redo every single video that I had done, plus plenty more different stuff as well. Now, one of the things I like about this game was it made me feel badass, you know. It was just, you know, like in the martial art films that you used to get back in the days. This is one of the first games that actually captured that and made me feel like a badass, basically, you know. Like, look. Billy Lee's just walking down the street, baddies are coming after him, and he's just beating the living shit out of everyone, you know? I wish I could do that in real life. I still wish I could do that. Right, so this game basically is controlled by 3 different buttons. You've got the jump, punch, and kick. Now, I'm not too keen on the control scheme on the arcade game, by the way. I found it a little bit awkward. Sometimes if you're punching left, you do a kick. If you want to punch right, you'll see what I mean if you play the game. It was kind of awkward. It used a very similar control scheme to Renegade. Now, some of you also might remember, I recently, about 3-4 months ago, I did an 8-Bit Wars version of Double Dragon, which was Spectrum versus Amstrad versus Commodore 64. And you remember me saying that I wasn't a big fan of those conversions. They were actually piss poor. You know, they're absolutely terrible. And that's the reason why I'm looking forward to doing this video, because these versions that I'll be playing today, which is the Sega Master System version and the 8-Bit Nintendo version, are a lot better. They play very similar to the arcade, but they have got many differences as well. And that's one of the reasons why I love doing these arcade, you know, 8-Bit Wars arcade conversions, because you get to see what the games look like on different machines, and they look very different and play different as well. Now, both the Master System play differently to the Nintendo version. But I'll tell you what I love about this game. It's got so much character. You've got that picture of the VW Volkswagen there, the Beetle, and you've got that character there, that big bald-headed fella that just smashed through the wall. I mean, what an amazing touch. You know he's a badass when he smashes through the wall. You know, that happened in real life. You run. If someone smashes through the wall, you run like hell. Ow, that hurt. Now, I was going to do a couple of videos today, but I'm just sticking to 2. Now, if you're looking at the top of the screen and it says 8-Bit Wars, Sega vs Nintendo, SV, which stands for short version, I have done another version of this game, which is on my website, which is www.onehourmonthlypodcastshow.co.uk. Now, the version you'll see on the site is a slightly longer version, which has different commentary and also features a bit more gameplay. Because of the YouTube time limit, I'm restricted to just under 10 minutes, and at the site, you know, I can add a lot more gameplay footage. So guys, if you want, check it out. Just thought I'd throw that out there for you guys. Alrighty then. Now here we come towards the end of the first level. And there's that Garfield looking cat there, hitting with a baseball bat. Guys, I'd also like to mention as well that I will be doing another 8-Bit Wars, Spectrum vs Amstrad vs Commodore 64 tomorrow, which will be Double Dragon 2. So guys, check that out if you get the chance. Okie dokie, now this is a Double Dragon on the Sega Master System. And I remember playing this game back in the day, and I thought it was pretty much spot on, arcade perfect. And looking at it now, I can see that it wasn't. Now, I did have both versions, the Spectrum and the 8-bit Nintendo version. No, sorry, the Sega Master System and the NES version. And I thought that was pretty arcade perfect as well. And looking at it now, the graphics are pretty faithful to the arcade. They're a lot smaller, the sprites aren't as big. The backgrounds are nice and colourful. Now, unlike the arcade game, this is just controlled with the 2 buttons, you know, like punch and kick. The arcade game had 3 different buttons that you had to press as well as the joystick, but this only has 2. And surprisingly enough, I actually prefer the control scheme on this version over the arcade, because, you know, basically punch, kick, press one of those buttons, press both at the same time, you do that little back kick, tap forward twice and you do a headbutt, and press forward and 2 buttons and you do a flying kick. It's just so easy. And look, there's Rick Astley. Just thought I'd point that out to you guys. Alright, so I just punched that guy to the face. Now, this game has got quite a lot of sprite flicker. It is flickering all over the place, and it hasn't got as many characters as the actual arcade version. But nevertheless, I used to love this version. This is probably one of my favourite Sega Master System games, because I used to play it all the time, and I was so happy when I played this version. Look, just like in the arcade, that big muscly fella smashes through there. It's not quite as big as he is in the arcade, but he's still there, and you'll probably find that he's a lot easier to defeat as well. Now, compared to the crappy 8-bit computer versions, this version was just amazing. I basically love it. Now, you know what time it is now, guys? I think it's time for question of the day. Now, my question of the day is, what is your favourite version of Double Dragon? It can be on any computer, it can be the arcade, it can be the console, it can be the sequels, you know, it can even be the cartoon TV show or even the crappy movie. So what is your favourite version of Double Dragon? Alright, so that's my question to you guys. Alright, so that's the end of the Sega Master System version. Running out of time there. Now this is Double Dragon on the 8-bit Nintendo, on the NES, or NES, that's what I used to call it, everyone calls it NES, sorry, NES. Now the colour scheme isn't quite as good as the Sega Master System or the arcade game, but graphically I suppose, minus the colour, it looks very similar to the Sega Master System. The graphics are a little bit blockier, they've got like a Commodore 64 look about them, don't they? The music is surprisingly good. I didn't point out the music on the Sega Master System version. The Sega Master System version had a great rendition of the arcade music, and this features some great music as well. I'm not sure which version is slightly better. Now the moves, again, are controlled by the 2 buttons, punch and kick. I'm a bit ashamed to say I don't know how to do the flying kick. Is it like the arcade game where you just press both buttons at the same time? No. Oh well, I'm sure I can get through the game without, you know, using the flying kick. Now, it is missing certain things, like there, the big bald fella doesn't smash through the wall. I was a little bit disappointed with that when I first played the game. Now this version plays very different to the other versions because it's got loads of different sort of gameplay elements that weren't actually in the arcade, which does add a lot to the game, I actually feel. It does make it different enough to make it interesting. Now I tell you what though, you've got to check out Double Dragon 2 on the 8-bit Nintendo because it is a lot better than the arcade version of Double Dragon 2. But anyway, I've got to try and think now. Which version plays better? Is it the Sega Master System or the 8-bit Nintendo? Guys, we'll have a quick think about that. Let me quickly tell you about a new series of videos that I'll be doing. I've got a new idea for in-game music, which I'll be doing, hopefully once my computer is sorted out, because it keeps on crashing on me. And I've got a new series of videos called Local Versus, where it's basically me versus some classic gaming bosses from the good old days. So I should do that sometime this week. Alright guys, I think I've finally made up my mind. It's a Sega Master System. That's your winner for today. Thanks very much. See you next time.